What is a $600,000 property really going to get me? Negatively geared today changes to positive geared as well. With a $600,000 property doubling in 10 years, you taking home $696,000, which is nearly $700,000 before tax. What does this mean? Today I want to focus a bit on educational video. A lot of clients ask us, why are we investing in property? What is a $600,000 property really going to get me? So I'm going to walk you today through an example that shows what property can do if it doubles in 10 years, which means that a $600,000 property is becoming 1.2 million, but what is your real return? You will also today learn about if the property is negatively geared today at $600,000, how that over a period of time changes to positive geared as well, without interest rate changing, or for that matter, without you actually even paying down your principal. So keep watching. Now what you see on your screen here is a $600,000 property doubling in 10 years. It means that the growth rate, we're talking about 7.18% per annum. So again, we're buying a property for $600,000. Our loan is 80%, which is a loan of $480,000, and we're assuming that loan does not shift or reduce. It is the same loan that is going to carry on for the next 10 years. The investment that is required upfront from your pocket or from an equity would be $120,000, which is a 20% deposit, and an additional $60,000, which is required to cover your costs, including stamp duty, maybe buyer agent fees, your building and pest, conveyancing, or any settlement costs as such. So we've assumed that is about 10%, and that's about $60,000. So in total, your upfront cash requirement is $180,000. We are assuming an interest rate of 6% on an average, and that remains the same over the 10-year period. Your rent in your first year, as soon as your property settles, you're collecting a rent of $26,000 a year, which is a rental yield of 4.3%. Your expenses for the year is $5,000. These are direct expenses related to the property, like your property management, maintenance rates, land tax, and so forth. So these are your assumptions on your very first year. Now let's look at the breakdown of what that looks like. However, before we do that, I also want to show you, if you're selling your property in 1.2 million, you also have a selling cost, which is about 2% of the time when you sell. So your total cash invested over the 10-year period would be $180,000 upfront, and there will be about $20,000 that we will need to hold this property over the 10-year period, which I'm going to show you the breakdown very soon. The profit at the end of this whole journey of 10 years is going to be $496,000 essentially. With what that means is, with a $200,000 investment upfront, what we're talking about is a compounding annual growth rate of 13.3% from a 600K property and your own cash of $200,000 over 10-year period. So let's look at the details. So in the year one, as we said, we're getting to $26,000 in rent, which is growing at a rate of 5% per annum, which means that the rent in year one becomes $40,000 in year 10. Similarly, we said interest rates is going to remain constant. Because we're not changing the loan position, it is staying at $480,000 for the next 10 years. Your interest component is the same over the 10-year period. Expenses are assumed to remain the same too, so that's $5,000 over the 10-year period. Which means that in your very first year, when you buy a property for $600,000 with $26,000 rent coming in your very first year, and expenses of $5,000 with an interest component that you have to pay around $28,800, we're talking about a negative cash flow position of $7,800 for you in your very first year. Now most people get very scared of that. They're like, oh my God, I can't hold this property, because they're assuming that you're going to be paying $7,800 or close to $8,000 a year every single year. That's not the case. What you see here in the calculations is that your net cash flow position shifts from negative $7,800 to positive $6,500 at the end of year 10. And this is going to be because that your rents are going up, and at the same time we are seeing that cash flow position shifting in year 5 itself. That's really the break-even point for you at year 5 or at the end of year 5. Now, what that also means, we've taken a cumulative cash investment. Remember, we started with $180,000, and over the years, since you've got negative positions over there, we've added that holding cost as well for you right from the very first year. And of course, it turns into positive at the end of 10 years, as we said. So your cash flow invested over the whole 10-year period is close to around $200,000. What that also means to the property value, as we said, you start with 600,000, but your property has become 1.2 million at the end of 10-year period, growing at a rate of 7.8%. What does this mean? This actually means that after you have actually sold the property with 2% cost, we are talking about you taking home $696,000, which is nearly $700,000 before tax, after all proceeds, and which means that you invested 200,000 in a property, returning you close to 700,000. That is 13.3% compound annual growth per annum. So, as you can see, not only does your property become positively geared, but at that growth rate, you're able to pull out equities faster and continue to invest in your second, third, fourth property quite easily, because you can also keep getting better borrowing capacities since property starts to get positively geared over these years. Hopefully you enjoyed this video.